Oh, he's a good boy. Hup, hup, hup. Good boy. Good way, stay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hey, friends, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Welcome to episode 9, where we are going to be talking to Andrew Campo from Vahna Magazine. We talked to Derek Mayberry, but we got Andrew to come while he was coming through town, downstairs on the couch, first one. I hesitate to call it a magazine. That's so much more. They got a film festival going right now. Tyler Behrman on the back. John Ryan taking photos on the inside. Ton of great photographers, but fun conversation. And Alan D'Antoni was actually sitting with me too. So hope you have a happy holiday. A hoppy holiday?
A hot, happy holiday.
That's it. And we'll see you around.
Bye.
Fiber on point, or it just...
That's awesome. That's how we're starting the podcast. We're rolling, so that was kind of perfect.
Well,
I hope we got that.
Well, Andrew, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Pretty honored to be the first guest on in-house on the show.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, happy it's you after this lovely last weekend that we had.
Incredible weekend. Super nice to meet everybody here and get to spend some time in the South. And Barber was everything and then some, you know.
Your first time?
My first time.
Man.
Yeah.
My first time. Your first time?
It was incredible, my first time.
Yeah.
Did you get to make it to the museum?
I did twice actually.
Must have been nice.
I got
snuck
some
away.
pictures if you want to see.
They're similar to the ones online, but
Yeah.
but it's insane. So much stuff. Did you see the boat motors?
Yeah, I saw the motors. I
Like-
didn't go any further down that wing.
Yeah.
But
They have outboard motors that are just propped from like...
That doesn't make sense for a motorcycle museum.
But they're like 1950s old...
So the Barber
restored.
Museum is just a barber. He's a man, Mr. Barber.
Yep. Is it Skip Barber?
Jim, I believe.
Jim.
So you just went to his storage that just happened to be really high-end storage.
With what has to be a 1,000 motorcycles,
At
maybe?
least, yeah.
I actually, me and Cody behind the desk over there poked our heads in just for a minute because we didn't have any time. And the docent said, "You're not allowed in here, sir, with that camera." And I go, "You're accurate." And then after we got it all cleared with the right people, he's like, "Well, this is what you need to know. There's 4,000 motorcycles waiting to come on display.
Wow.
2,000 currently on display in some type of circulation that they have. So 6,000 motorcycles, and that's not even in like you're speaking of boat motors that obviously I didn't see, but overall,
and the cars too,
and the cars and the things and the art for Barber. It was just a very high end.
It's really cool.
It was really cool for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I applauded the grounds for beautiful art
Yes.
installations in the
You know how much
middle of
stuff
the
I lost in the
woods.
grass because it was so thick? Sorry to whoever the next event is because you're going to pop your tires. It's not,
No,
Yeah.
we
Nice.
picked the screws up.
I think that was Vahna, actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't us. We're low key on this one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Vahna, Andrew Campo, Joseph Andrew Campo
Yep.
of Vahna notoriety.
Yes, sir. Vahna Magazine, Denver, Colorado. We came out to Barber we sponsored the motorcycle show at the Isle of Triumph, which was super rad.
How many bikes do you have there?
I think there was 20.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
so.
right at 20. But the show was on either side of the main stage. Killer music, like the grass you were talking about, kids playing in the grass, and just a good vibe on the Isle of Triumph. Honestly, when we pulled out, I was like, God, this is like, when you're a kid and you gotta leave like the amusement park or
So
something.
fast.
I was like really bummed out, but I'm also pretty stoked because I think we'll be back next year doing the same thing that we did this year. And we even thought about the film festival that we're working on right now. We'll be we're here in Atlanta now because we're gonna do our first screening here next week. But next year we thought about maybe kicking it off at the Alabama Theater during Barber.
Do they have a theater at Barber or just a local
just
to like
downtown.
Birmingham or something
yeah,
like that?
in Birmingham, they got a
Cool.
beautiful
Yeah.
theater downtown with one of the prettiest marquees I've seen in a long time.
Oh, we didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
go into wherever they had us posted up over there. It was great, but
Yeah.
we didn't see that. I was pleasantly surprised when we got kind of the breakdown from Triumph of who was going to be at Triumph Isle, the boys from Vahna, and then I wasn't even hip because I'm involved, but equally outside of missing points that sometimes I didn't know about the film festival, and so to see you guys there and hear about that, and to hear your first stop was in Atlanta, I was like, oh, tight.
Yeah, well, it makes sense having our first stop here, home for me. Grew up here.
Roswell?
Well, I grew up in Dunwoody.
Okay.
But I have family in Roswell, so I'm able to come here, spend some time, making sure that everything's in place for the venue, and so I've done that this week, meeting community, and of course Triumph is headquartered here in the U.S., and you guys are here, and the bonus crew, I'll just call them
BFG,
the
Bonus Family
crew. I
Garage.
love those guys, man. It's kind of sick. They were also, of course, at Barber, and we had the chance to kind of meet that crew, and they've been helping us this week spread the word about the festival, and yeah, so stoked to be in Atlanta. I was telling you earlier, I think I'll start splitting time between here and there, probably more springtime and fall here, and back in Colorado we'll do winter and summer or something like that.
You ski out there?
Not so much anymore. It's funny. Like I like to ride motorcycles the most, and you can pretty much ride throughout the year out there. But to go to the mountains, and it's just like 285 out here, just slammed up. You just sit in traffic all the way up and all the way down, and I just maybe at a point in my life where I don't feel like dealing with traffic and crowds, so I go ride my motorcycle more often. I do like skiing and stuff. Part of my journey to where I am with Vahna was, working in the publishing world around skiing and snowboarding when I was younger. So spent a lot of time doing it. Just right now, I'd rather just check out on my bike and go cruising. Or I've been riding a whole lot of motocross is what I've been doing. Nice. So that's fun.
Well, so then
That's what I like to do.
you said specific to like the publishing and things, you came from the cold world.
Yeah.
And then that was brought to you. Like, so I was even thinking about Vahna, my introduction to it and all things considered. What is it even that like you're like, I'm gonna open a magazine, I got a story to tell, I'm gonna cultivate and curate on story. Like, what is even that experience? Like, how do you start that?
Well, I started it. I think just at the core of it, it's kind of believing in. I'm a eternal optimist, and I believe you can do shit, right? And one day I wrote a paper in college, creative writing paper about snowboarding, and the teacher told me, he's like, "Hey man, you ever think about being a writer?" I was like, "I'm dyslexic. I should not be a publisher of a magazine." You
got an editor for that?
Yeah, I do. I've got an amazing team. I'm more of a creative and get shit done kind of guy. I'd misspell my name in probably every email I send out. I forget sentences, but for somehow I killed this paper, and I sent. At the time, I was really into snowboarding, and I mailed it by way of mail to Snowboarder Magazine, and said, "Hey, teacher said I've got it."
No way.
And I think it was like 6 months later, I got a phone call. And the lady, she was really nice, and she's like, "Hey, maybe interested in an internship?" And I was just blown away. I was like, "Oh man, if I could work for Snowboarder Magazine, that's game on, right?" And then she thought I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and she thought she had seen Santa Fe on that envelope, and she thought it was.
Oh, she thought you were local.
She thought it was Santa Fe Springs, California, and I said, "Oh no, give me 2 weeks to." Get my life buttoned up and I'll be out there. And she's like, "Oh, no, you can't move out here. I thought you were down the road." And I showed up on Monday.
Yes!
Here I am. And,
That's a get shit done guy, huh?
Yeah, I think I spent close to 8 months interning, and she would, she'd always tell me, like, get out, like, go to the beach. Like, you don't have to be here 9 to 5 every day, like, go, get out here. And I was just there to learn. Like, I was blown away. So over the years, I spent, I don't know, about 8 years, snowboarder. I worked as skateboarder. I ended up working at Surfer before I ended with those publications. And kind of worked in different departments enough to understand how to put together a magazine and how industries work and everything else, and kind of set out on my own after that. And so years later, many years later, I had met Ben, who's our creative director and my partner.
What's Ben's last name?
Geese.
G-I-E.
S-E.
Yeah.
And not Geesey.
He hears that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Ben's just, I don't know, man, we just hit it off creatively, and he's immediately, I'd worked with, art directors and creative directors throughout maybe a 10-year period in amazing ones. Guys that were building some of the best publications out there. And man, Ben just had like something really special. I wanted to do more with him than we had the capability of doing on the project that we were on at the time, and that was a digital magazine that we were working on. So,
Piper, are you gonna get interviewed? What you
I
doing,
think
girl?
so. We need some micro.
Yeah.
Long story short, there's some really rad publications out there, kind of independently owned in the surf skate culture areas. Monster Children was one of them.
What's that?
And What Youth. Monster Children, Australian-based magazine that's kind of focused on music, skate, surf, and just punk
All the
rock as can
things.
be. And our original format of the magazine was horizontal, and that was something they were doing at the time, and we're really attracted to it because it created this beautiful landscape platform. And
So like every bifold is its own poster.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
cool.
and those guys are really rad. We weren't competition to them. We're not in the same really space. But we reached out to them, and I always like to note the rad publishers, them, Iron and Air, a few others out in the space that were like, yeah, awesome. Here's what you should do, and here's what to watch out for. Like, it was really cool when we got started to kind of build some alignments between other people that are doing rad stuff to preserve the art of print. So, yeah.
It's got to be hard. I mean, with all the media outlets that exist now. I mean, and your magazine is so beautiful. Every time I
Thank
tell
you.
somebody, it's like every issue is a coffee table book.
We got it on our table right here.
Yep.
We got our Vahna.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've from day one, we took the approach of creating kind of an evergreen approach to content, right?
Mhm.
Like, we've considered it a print collection from day one. We want people to be able to collect these and read them 10 years from now, and it's storytelling. So we're not talking about a new brake system or
Right.
finishes at a race or anything that's really time sensitive. Is that's not
No.
print's not made for that anymore. That's
Well, you're not
Yes.
beholden to the sponsors. You're just actually
Yeah.
open to the story that it
Totally.
provides. It's the life well written, if I'm right.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
And I love that. Had dinner with a friend last night, and I didn't know that they paid enough attention. They're like, hey, by the way, that is a sick tagline, and it is. That's for Ben and I. We're the two original founders of the book, and it's like this was as much about living a certain lifestyle as it was accomplishing business goals. We knew that the magazine, if we were able to set out and do what we wanted to do, that this would allow us to travel the world time and time again and meet creatives and people like yourselves that to build upon kind of our foundation. We've got a great network of really rad people that have come into our lives through this project all over the world, and it's allowed us to travel. I haven't traveled as much over the last couple of years as I did in the early stages, but Ben recently was, I think last year, he was in Iceland, Africa. Who
So
knows?
cool.
I mean, he's getting around.
I've heard about those places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they seem pretty cool.
Yeah, I was at the accountants and the, taking care of that stuff, but no complaints. We've had some rad times. What I don't do as much of, and I didn't do a whole lot of it in the beginning, is really contribute by way of written word anymore. I used to try to write a story or two from time to time, and I finally decided, I'm done. That was my biggest struggle. And a lot of people are like, man, I loved your story. I'm like, wow, it's horrible, like just horrible. And I get
Oh, really?
and just writer's block, man. And I can sit.
Well, you're just too
I can have
hypercritical.
6 months to write something, and then think about it and overthink about it for 4.5 months, and then try to start it and not get anywhere, and then I have an hour and a half to write it. And so I just kind of backed off that, and I think Ben's realized that's probably not the best use of my time anymore. So I'm free of that. But I'll be going on some trips. I think that Derek is also one of our business partners. You met Derek out there, and he'll be here on Monday. But all three of us are talking about trying to get an annual, just us guys go do something, and
Hit the reset button.
yeah, hit that reset button.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we've been doing really good as a little team lately. This year's super exciting. Put a lot of focus into building a casual wear brand, around our audience. Not a motorcycle protective gear brand. That's not what we want to do. But one of the things that we feel like is we've got a great audience. I think we have a lot of influence on this audience, and I think it'd be really cool. The more that areas that we can figure out how to stand on our own 2 feet, not have to worry, necessarily about advertising, then it'll allow us just greater,
You guys can
freer
dictate.
opportunities.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're working towards that. I think if we're on schedule, we should shoot marketing and stuff for a line of apparel around the second week in November, and then that stuff will be online for sale. And
That's right around the corner.
yeah, we've been working on it for, 8 months now. So
Sweet.
it's all in production. It's the biggest apparel order we've ever put down. And we're
Nice.
super stoked. It's not just merchandise, t-shirts and hats and stuff. It's we've got some button-up stuff. We've got some women's stuff that we're working on, and we've got some really rad collaborations too.
I heard about a boot.
Yeah, Danner, we're doing a collaboration with Danner. I think that will be out in April. We have a Barstow goggle that we did a collaboration on with 100%. I just found out yesterday that those will be available November 2nd, which happens to be our film screening date in Denver.
Perfect.
So, so we'll have those goggles here in just a few weeks, and then working on some other things with some other really good brands. And that's what we really want to do, is collaborate on rad stuff with the right brands.
So, all right, let me redirect this. I love all the things that are happening with Vahna, where it's going with the clothing. You're
Thank you.
expanding past the book. The pages have turned. There's a film festival now.
Yes.
How did the film festival come about, and where's that going? And this is step one. How many iterations are we going to see with this?
Well, the film festival came about years ago, actually, here in Atlanta, in conversation with Adam Vanderveen.
Mr. Vanderveen.
Yeah, Mr. Vanderveen. We're talking about other ways to, get our brand in front of community. And Mr. Vanderveen had worked in, I don't know, what do you call it, marine world for a while. And he had told me about a fly fishing, or maybe it was some type of fishing festival. I don't fish, so I didn't pay too much attention. But anyhow,
That's nice.
I think it's fly fishing festival, which I know there's some beautiful imagery from fly fishing.
It's a thing. There's a lot of people that do it.
Yeah, I'm just not one of them that's done it. But
So you're talking to Adam.
Yeah,
he
and
talks
he's-
about
and
fly
what he
fishing.
was
You're
telling
going,
me
this is a
about,
great
there's
something.
There's a film festival.
Yeah.
There's film festivals in all kinds of different areas. But we just started. He's like, man, we should do something rad. We should do something rad. And I just, maybe 5 years ago, maybe a little further back, it seemed like there was a Vahna film that was now coming out of each volume. We didn't set out to do that in the beginning, but as we met the right creatives and had the
Well, I would imagine that so many times like a photographer is equally a storyteller with a video.
Yeah.
And so you're like, hey, I'm doing this. I also have this. You're like, well, we can feature that.
Yeah.
And so you weren't just print. You were also, we have a digital asset to present.
And those digital assets really allow us to push that story
Yeah.
back to print, you know. And so we've kind of, I think, gained a reputation as a platform for creative films. And when we were talking, Adam and I were talking, it was him. He was the one who's like, man, everything's so fragmented when it comes to video, right? There's no central hub for it. And if you acted as that through this contest, so I was a little hesitant to do anything right away because I was just scared that the world's a crazy place right now. Last time we set out to do something, we worked probably close to a year and a half to 2 years to prepare for a motorcycle show that happened to be just a couple weeks after the world shut down.
Which show was it?
It was going to be the Vision Moto show in Denver.
Okay.
And so then at first I was like, oh man, do we want to, book theaters and get back into the world? But now I'm happy, and so let's go for it. And it was, I don't know, just a month or two back. Ben's traveling a lot. He's getting all the submissions, and finally I was like, hey, let's have a look at one or two. And I got chills when I saw the first two. I was like, fuck. And I could see that, there was a call to action to, here's not really guidelines, but some inspiration, and it's between 5 and 15 minutes long. And man, it just to see that people, you can see our inspiration in their work, and to see that all this effort from all these different filmmakers and teams of people around them. We had over 60 film submissions.
Wow.
In a 4 or 5 month window.
Mm-hmm.
And these are damn good films.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was really tough because over the last, I think about a week ago, submissions were closed on the last day, and a flood of them came in, and then we had to figure that out. We have a top 10 LCQ, or top 9 LCQ that's online right now.
Oh, cool.
At midnight Eastern time tonight. Those the finalists will go on tour with the 10 finalist films.
Cool.
And at the end of we'll go Atlanta Tuesday, November 2nd Denver. We're going to take December off. January it's going to be in Phoenix. Location and date we haven't put
TBD.
Yeah. January, February, LA. Also dates coming on that one. And then March will be Austin, date coming on that. And then our final show will be in Portland on the 25th. And I believe that's the same weekend as the one show. So
Oh, cool.
Kind of working with...
You've heard me talk about the Pickle Factory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think... I've been talking to Tor about that. I think it will be at the Hollywood Theater in Portland, but we're working alongside Tor to kind of, have it.
I actually don't even know if it was at the Pickle Factory last year. I feel like the last time I was there with Derek.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was at Pickle Factory again.
Yeah, I just remember the
Or
last time I
Oak
was there,
Factory.
I was just so goddamn cold. And I was like, man, this looks really cool at a distance next to a heater.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had a job, but I actually couldn't even do it because I was so cold, but whatever, hindsight and such.
Yeah.
So just for people that aren't in tune, like what are the parameters of your film? What were the asks?
Just to really focus on the narrative, a true storyline in there, and just kind of use our inspiration. It's all about the story when it's all said and done, and some of them have no words, but the story is clear as day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite? I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
So next week, Tuesday, we're gonna go to Plaza Theater
Yep.
in Ponce,
Yep.
and we're gonna see the show, the whole shebang.
Yeah, looks to be. I was just going over run of.
Sold out, super excited. It's coming together, all for you.
It looks to
yeah.
be about a 2-hour run of show right now, which is cool. I think as we move through our calendar, we'll kind of bring other partners' films in, and we've got I think a half-hour intermission window where we'll be playing films outside of the 10 finalists.
Oh, cool.
We have a film or two of our own that will make it in, as a, hey, let's watch this after the top 10 are done. So not every showing might not be the exact same run of show, but the 10 finalist videos will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So when you were putting together the show, when you're putting together the magazine, when you're putting together the apparel, the space that you operate in is motorcycles.
Yeah.
Is it lifestyle or is it motorcycles? Or are they...
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, motorcycles are kind of our lifestyle.
Right.
So, I don't know, man, like, this story is the same for all of us as partners. Especially Ben and I, we have a little bit of a racing background, but we've just loved motorcycles our whole lives, right? And I remember years ago, my mom trying to talk to me about some world issues or something, and I'd tuning it out, and she's like, she loves me to death, but she's like, fuck, all you've ever cared about is motorcycles since the 3rd grade. And I was like, yep. And that stuck with me because it's kind of really who I am. So, we love riding motorcycles. And part of the book is we try to celebrate all genres of motorcycling. There's not really too many motorcycles out there wouldn't want to be riding on.
Well, I guess it's probably a similar perspective for me. It's just like 2 wheels is 2 wheels. However you're rolling is the right way.
They make you happy.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's any number of silly 2 wheels to freedom.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, a life well ridden.
Yeah.
But
Corny.
no, corny's okay though when it just represents exactly the name of the game. But
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, it's all said and done. Like I said, it's a little selfish, I want to live my best life. And
Why not?
This magazine can allow us to do
well,
it.
you're telling me that sitting in my basement talking to me about it. So
Drinking your beer.
hey, thanks, Meg. I mean, we touched upon it just briefly before we even started here tonight. When you work in motorcycles, what have you found to keep the wheels rolling, as it were? Like it's and I've used the joke, half the wheels, half the budget. When it comes to living in a creative space, you can have an idea for something, you can have a goal, a vision, but when you got to grease those wheels with the powers that be, how is it playing in this? And where's even the field at right now? We're 2023.
Yeah, as far as our field, and that's all I can really talk directly about, we've had, I want to say, the same group of, I call them partners more than advertisers, but a small group of partners that I think on average 12 to 14 advertise in each volume. And, above and beyond that we're working on special projects with, or, creating marketing for them, or you name it. But it seems like we're in a pretty good space because we've got really strong alignments, and honestly, I think less is more. If you can be working and doing more for a partner, for a group of 8 partners versus 30 partners, then you're building bigger partnerships, and that's really where our focus is right now. Magazine itself, I was terrified when COVID. At that point, I'd put 7-8 years of my life and a lot of personal investment into the magazine. I was like freaking. I was like, oh man, it's gonna happen. Like people aren't gonna want to buy anything right now. And we saw this huge spike in readership. It was really cool. And I started. Ben evens me out. He's like, dude, we got this. This hasn't been easy. Trust me. I didn't take a paycheck for half a decade.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you got a project like this. If you know it's going to work, you just pour everything into it, and it's been working really nicely the last couple of years. But when you get going, first of all, when we put it out, everybody's like, dude, what are you doing? The digital world, blah, blah, blah. We don't have print budgets anymore. And a couple of them, I had been on a project prior that everybody's like, digital budget? What's that? All we've got is print budget. So I reminded a few of my key partners that, hey, remember 10 years ago?
Yep.
And so we funded this thing through ad dollars from day one. Bootstrapped it till right now. So, which is kind of unheard of at times, but also explains that it's it's not always easy. But yeah, we have a great formula now. We got subscribers from all over the world.
Yeah.
Recently, we moved into a real 3PL facility. So like
Wait a minute, what?
like third-party logistics, like everything's now being handled from customer service to.
So you have a brick and
shipping.
mortar where you sit and ideate, and
Yeah.
then you email your team in 3PL?
Well, yeah, like anything that's going out to a customer
Okay.
is no longer touched by us, which is about 2 months now, and wow. It's,
That's a scalable, that's where it's just gas on fire.
yeah, that's where we're kind of sitting right now. And we just hired a new chief CMO. Kid is amazing. Never had that before. Like, well, he's getting to hear our history of how we've marketed ourselves, purely organic from day one. We went back, and I think we spent since 2014 to now $1,500 on Facebook ads back in, I don't know, 2017.
Was he like,
Not
how
sure.
are you here?
Yeah, exactly. So, and he's super smart dude, and we've spent the last 6 months kind of working we changed our web platform to Shopify, where we've been putting all the right tools and measurements and doing things right.
So you're touching all the buttons with your SEO, your metrics, your algorithm, all the things, you're hitting it hard.
So wild.
Yeah.
There's so many like those little intricate moving parts. that,
It takes a long time to find the right person to. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've been pitched to be my marketing specialist and this and that, but to have that confidence, because that's usually a bigger spend if you want to see a result, right? But yeah, so we've got the right team. We're working with Superior Inc., which is a Colorado-based and great friends. We source all of our apparel, and they do all our screen printing, embroidery, and they manage 3PL for us. So it's things are cool.
Awesome.
Right now, like if we're out and about and a certain merch item that we have, queued for low inventory that we want to reprint, that's all just taken
all
care
done.
of now, and we can focus on more so on things like the bike show at Isle of Triumph.
Yeah.
If that wasn't in place, there's no way both Derek and I could have spent a week out there.
Yeah.
Right. So, kind of excited about the opportunity to let that stuff do its thing, and for us to focus more on building relationships. That's really my job, is relationships.
Is that why you started returning my calls?
Yeah. Hey, shit, I loved you from day one. I remember first time we met in Denver, went and had coffee, and then told Derek, I was like, God, that's the nicest dude ever, man. Didn't you wrestle an alligator that day?
Oh my
Well,
God.
so you know what you do when you get to Denver is you wrestle alligators first. You get off the plane, they give you a joint, and then you go wrestle an alligator.
I heard about that.
Yeah. No, I was in town for a wedding, and my buddy was getting married, Mr. Chase Garrett, who I'm sure will be on the couch at some point. He used to work at Red Bull. He's been
Dude, I know Chase.
you know Chase?
I know Chase.
That
well.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah. He's at Icon now.
He is
Or
Icon.
He is on
There you
Icon.
go. Exactly.
Yeah, Chase a rad dude, man.
He's a sweet guy. I went to college with Chase. G-AA-R-R-E-T. And his dad's here in town. They're from Georgia. And so I was out for his wedding to his beautiful now wife, and they have a beautiful baby, and all things considered, 2 babies. That's right. And so I was driving out from LA to Denver. I borrowed Steve Camrad's Triumph Tiger, 900, I believe. Rode up into the mountains, and Danger Dan knew I was heading out, and he was passing through at the same time. I don't know where he was going, but he's like, hey, man, I want to have you on the podcast. And I was like, all right, I'd love to do that. What do we do? And he goes, we're going to wrestle alligators. I was like, in Denver, you know, or just outside. It's not far. Like what is it, like an hour and a half?
3.
Okay,
But,
give or take.
Yeah, I know exactly where it is.
The joint helps.
Oh my God. Long story short, we go do what we do. We have the podcast, and it's something we still talk about. Like we'll randomly just message each other, like with like how it pops up on Instagram or TikTok, with just like somebody in the lake that we were in, and you just see what's happening, and it's inevitably somebody losing an arm.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I
go
went
well.
and watched it after you told me about it. And I've known about the alligator farm. I have family property on that same street, but I've never known about wrestling.
Yeah, because there's a vortex out there.
Oh yeah,
There's a vortex. That's right.
Wait, what's a vortex? What do you mean?
What's a vortex, Alan? What's a vortex?
We'll have to show them.
We got to take him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hit the Google. It's a big.
It's a spiritual.
Yeah, it's a
vortex.
spiritual vortex. Maybe aliens come through there. You know, whatever you're looking for, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And it
Like-
might be a friggin' alligator.
Is it a ayahuasca?
No. I mean, you can do whatever you want wherever you want.
Pretty
However,
much anything goes down there.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You just turn down this one dirt road and you just drive like 19 miles, you'll find it on the left side.
Wild.
But specific to the place though, like it's a carp farm. It started as a carp farm, and then they're like, man, we got too many dead carp. What do we do with all these
No
dead carps?
way.
And someone was like, well, you know what likes eating dead carp? Alligators. And so they had a couple of rescue alligators. Alligators breed really well. Fast forward not a couple years, we go, hot dang, we got 60 alligators.
Oh,
And now they're an alligator farm that happened to breed carp.
Yeah.
And they'll let you, for the right price, jump in and get a license on how to wrestle.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How's Danger Dan? I love him, man.
Well, and I have so much respect for Dan. We saw him just at Sturgis, introduced Alan to him. We saw him in Deadwood. He was running some Harley beach party, which makes sense for a 40-degree event in Deadwood. But we bumped into him, and it's not that I'm never gonna repeat the greats here, hopping in my podcast seat. But when I did Dan's podcast and how I see him operate and the fun he has on his Pan America, cruising around, telling stories, dude, he's crushing. And so I hope to have him equally in the seat if I just can't chase him down. But what a
Yeah.
sweet dude.
I like him. He popped in town. He pops in on his way to Sturgis from time to time.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like those like one of a kind dudes, and he's definitely one of those, man.
Man, he looks like he smells.
Yeah.
You gonna edit that or he knows?
No, what? I can see his heart through his outfit. It's so huge. Got a big old heart,
I
that Danger
think he's
Dan.
beautiful. He's got a good smile.
He's got a
Yeah,
great
he's
smile.
funnier than shit.
Yeah, no, I love him.
I always say when he's got that leather jacket. When I went to, he goes, hey, I was like, oh, we'll take a picture, and I put my, like, hey, and it was like a
Stiff.
like he hasn't taken that. I mean, it was a well weathered. That jacket could tell some stories.
He's earned those miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
He's a cultured man. So, working in the motorcycles as long as you have. And you plan to stay there. Vahna is branching into a new space, but
we're not really branching into a new space. We're going to continue to publish, do what we're doing here. Storytelling will be the core of the brand, but it is a new focus for us, which is awesome. We talked about it. We talk about it all the time. What are we going to do in 3 years, 5, 10? You got to have business plans, and right now, you go through ebbs and flows, but right now we're all just fired up to get down the road, and things when things feel good, right? You don't want
So
to get
much
off the
fun.
roller coaster if
Yeah.
you're having fun. Right now we're having a lot of fun, and I'm kind of, when it comes to business, I've kind of like a personal history of really enjoying a challenge, or taking on doing what they say can't be done a little bit. Like that's what this was. Like everybody back then was like, magazines are dead, dude. And I was like, fuck it, no. Let's say, they're not. There's obvious monster children. We're just not used to seeing this
Yeah.
in our industry yet. And it took a while and people still don't know who we are. We're not like the most well-known magazine.
They will.
We do have a great global audience, and I've always considered our readership more of a fan base than just a readership, because we get some really great emails from people. It's cool when you receive emails, talking about how you inspired them, or just taking the time to compliment the work and stuff. Those are those little cues that let you know you're doing all right, even if you think you're not.
Well, I'd be curious, do you see yourself in the space that we operate in? Because I'm only talking from my perspective. When I learned about your company, your brand, your magazine, and then everything I saw, and they came across my tables over the years in different facets, and I had friends in the magazine, I had friends shooting for the magazine. We had the opportunity to meet. There's always been, and between you and Iron and Air, and I don't know who stacks up where. I'm not hip to that sense of things.
Yeah.
But from my vantage point, you guys were really, when you're in charge of telling stories and you're painting the pictures with your words, the images you pick, the videos you share, you're influencing the culture around you that then disseminates and creates in a similar light, in the same vein, right? Like, from my vantage point, you guys were really kind of this is what we're into right now. And people are like, hey, this is what we're into right now.
Yeah.
And you go this direction, you go, this is what we're into right now. They're like, this is also what we're into right now. And I could watch the needle move with what your influence was. Did you guys see it from that side, or did you ever?
Yeah, we've just kind of, I think, really wanted, if you looked at the first 3 volumes of our book, they were motocross,
I can see it in my head right now.
they were motocross books, because that's where we came from. Ben was a pro racer, and I raced as a child and spent most of my career prior to Vahna, working in motocross specifically. And then we started to realize, hey man, we're not just riding dirt bikes all the time. We love our street bikes, and we just started thinking about that idea of exploring motorcycling outside. So if anything, we stayed in our lane with motorcycles for sure, and I think that was really smart. I think when you start trying to see maybe oh shit, this is cool right now, maybe we should kind of attach ourselves to that or that. I think that's when you lose authenticity and stuff, and it's maybe the purity's not there as well. But for us, from day one, just kind of focused on motorcycling. The magazine's evolved over the years, so I see it in many different stages, but I really think it was around volume 5 when we started to hit our stride, and Ben started to, as a creative director, just take this thing to another level, in my opinion. Since then, I've kind of just sat back in awe. I wouldn't have taken on this project with anybody else, period. That's it. And if he called me today and said, dude, I'm out, then I'd shut it down, because nobody else could do it. He's really, really good at it. We've been on press for over 9 years. Never had a file wrong at press.
Wow.
And it's unheard of.
Wow.
We've been with,
What does that mean?
like, when you drop files for magazines, man, usually there's just all kinds of stuff that says, there's this low res image somewhere, or there's,
Because there's so much material between that thing.
yeah. And every printer that we've worked with, which is 3, and we're at home now finally. We've got a great printer called D&K out of Boulder, but every single one of them's just doesn't happen. The teams of dudes that work in production.
This is Ben that makes this happen?
Yeah, and
Is he a psycho?
Yeah, he is. He's a good psycho, but he's just meticulous.
Yeah.
And you can see it when you go to his house. Everything's. He used to have these knives on a magnet thing.
See, I asked if he was psycho, and you went to knives.
Well, I'd always just move one the wrong way, or just if I was there,
Note
put
to self.
Just to see if he would
fork
react.
in the spoon thing in his drawer, just because I know he'd open it up and be like, that kind of shit. But,
Immediately he'd know.
oh, he'd know for sure. But yeah, he's just he's very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, well, that's a fine artistry in itself, being that meticulous to anything.
And to take it all.
It's a sharp edge. It is a sharp edge of a knife. Like, to get to that point, you got to go through a lot of freaking just right there.
Yeah. I never worry about anything when it comes to like our brand image, and all of that's been run with it.
One is that a constant choice where he's not in pursuit of, when you guys have your select partnerships, you call them, not sponsors, and equally you're not gratuitous in your advertisements throughout the magazine. So much so that I would say that if I'm page turning, I don't see logos, I don't see branding, I don't see labels. It looks just as if everything's one off. Everything is it's not like I bought this shirt off a rack. This is created and curated after years of experience and tears and stains and all the things, right?
Yeah.
That's what your magazine looks like. It looks like a lived experience.
And from day one, it happens at about a 90% rate, in my opinion, per book. But because sometimes you have a seasonal advertiser or maybe somebody that's has agency working on creative that they have to work within certain boundaries. But from day one, and even as always said it in our media kit, is we really encourage. Again, this being a timeless piece, you want that reader to pick this up 5 years from now and be able to relate to your brand. And if that's a product or a colorway or a price or any of that stuff, it's old news. If it's a focus on the brand and it's the brand's soul or heritage or something along those lines, it's here to stay. So it took in the beginning I was like, hey, I need a lot of money for an ad, and here's how we're going to do it. And I was like, it worked. People started listening. It took a minute for get a couple of these out into people's hands over time, and then I think, which is really kind of an honor at times. There's ads that are being built for us that aren't being built for anybody else.
That's cool.
And I love knowing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
That's really neat, actually.
And it's cool. We get advertisers check in with us prior to a volume to see if there's a theme unfolding and things of that nature. So it's nice when we get that kind of communication, because then what you're talking about becomes more seamless.
Is there a point where you're no longer a magazine and you are a book? Is that I'm not a publication. I don't live in that space, so I don't know. Is it like, well, we've been producing this, quarterly, biannually, whatever?
That's a great question, and it's a question that we're gonna kind of drill through in the next month or two. But
well, that's very soon.
Yeah, just figuring things out. Ultimately, that's what I'd love to do, is to produce something that we have a 90-day newsstand window, which is awesome. Thank you, Barnes & Noble.
What does that mean?
These are for sale on newsstand Barnes & Noble, primarily in the U.S., and instead of pulling the magazines off in 30 days like they traditionally would.
They put them in the stock room?
Well, after 90 days, then another one's on its way. But typically, and that's a good story in itself, a magazine would get pulled, but they've paid enough attention to what we're doing that they're leaving it on there because they know that's a product that could sell for.
Oh, okay. So you pass the 90-day and you go, well,
like,
we're the ones
it's not the October one.
Well,
that's
that's
old news, you know.
That's a testament to your stories. They're like, they're not looking at the cover and they're like, well, this is the December issue. We can tell because of all the Christmas shit.
Man, trying to think what year it was. 2014
1969.
or 15.
What?
2014 or 15. It was volume 3. A good friend of mine, Jake Enyart, and he was helping me at the time with the book. And he was very studious and whatnot. So I tasked him with, I finally got a hold of whoever manages like distribution for Barnes & Noble. And this lady, man, she was mean, dude. She was like, I felt like I was.
How did you call her? Were you angry when you called her?
No.
She just answered, what?
She's like, I was like, hey, I have a new publication and I'm trying to, and man, she like scolded me and she's like, I think she's like, how'd you get my phone number type of deal? And she's like, I was like, well, just tell me, what do I need to do? And then she told me like, here's what you got to do. You got to, compose this. I want to see your business plan because we're new, a sample of the book, this, that. And we had 2 of them out already. So we put together this whole thing. But she told me on the phone, she goes, here's what you do. You mail it to here. And she goes, then in 8 weeks, you go to your mailbox and look for a letter. And if it's not there, you wait another week, go to your mailbox. And if it's not there, don't call me and don't email me. And I was like, fuck. So I called and I was like, guys, this sucks. We're never getting on the newsstand, that's not,
You got to try it.
Yeah, so we sent the stuff off, and it was like 2 weeks later she called.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, I was like, oh shit, what'd you put in there, Jake? Now she's really mad, But she's like, hey, this is excellent. I can sell this. And I was like, really? And she's like,
Yes, of
What was
course.
her name?
"Here's what I done."
What,
So,
do you remember her name?
I know I have it in my email somewhere. But, yeah, I
Janice.
was like, wow. So, we got, in our 3rd volume, we got picked up by Barnes & Noble, and been really healthy there. They helped, there's a distribution company now, A&C, that's helped grow us into Books A Million in Canada, which is very similar.
Is Books A Million still open only in Canada? Like, I thought they closed
they're
in
here.
They're
They
down
could
here
be
too?
here too.
Yeah, I've seen Books in Florida.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
we're there as well. And then that same group sells to like independent newsstands, like, if you're maybe in New York or San Francisco and there's a street newsstand, we're in a few of those and
Oh, cool.
that type of thing. So major distribution is all handled over there now, which is cool. But man,
So you
I,
guys
I
did, like, the
swear to
triumphant
God, I
BMW
thought we'd
dealership.
never see the light of day of being on a newsstand.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that lady called back, but
It's so interesting because these are things that, this isn't my world, but you'd never think of that's a huge milestone to be able to get into a place that's gonna
oh, absolutely.
put you guys out there. It's
Yeah, because without eyeballs, we don't sell advertising.
yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's not as simple as hey, here's 1,000 magazines or books and throw it on your stand. Well,
I think that you were asking earlier about hurdles. This is one we still haven't been. I don't know if we'll ever be able to figure it out, but postage now, shipping, because these books they weigh just shy of 2 pounds. Ship one of these now to Europe is like $35 or something. And then we have people emailing, hey, what's wrong with you? The magazine only costs $16.95 and it's $30. It's like, that's out of our control. I wish there was no shipping on these things, right? So it's finding those solutions and workarounds. We're always trying to figure it out. But
All right. I've been in the business for about however long we've been rolling. You ready for this?
yeah, I am.
So you've already got a lossless file. Ben has done the due diligence to make everything the best for download. You're going to send it to your printer, and they're going to print it at the top res it can be. What is, I can drop ship a shirt made in wherever that won't be printed until it's sold and wherever.
Yeah.
What is that? Is too much risk? Too much? I don't know. I got to QC
The
that.
quality. We've looked into those and had samples made.
I didn't know it
over the
existed,
years.
but it seemed like an option.
There is some print on demand stuff, but it's not quite there yet.
Just because you have such tactile
it
response
is.
to your
That's-
magazine.
It's one of my favorite things about it. It's I smell
Well,
it.
because Alan, why don't you tell this isn't your first introduction to Vahna. You knew them before you knew them. You were a
Yeah.
subscriber.
Yeah. I had the other name.
Yeah,
Is it like Voldemort? Can we,
yeah,
we
you
say
just
it?
speak about it. It's great.
I loved it. I actually, when I first got it, I ended up I don't know how I did it, but I felt like I bought a couple back issues as well, and then just joined the subscription. But it's my favorite thing. It's like
As you hold it next to your beard, I feel like you're about to tell us a story. Go to page 69. It's my favorite.
69. No, but just that, it is, talking about quality control, it's got to be such a big thing because it's such a 2-pound book. It's not
Paper.
It's the binding. It's like it
all
feels.
of it. It's so
We've
cool.
always tried to stay true to the ethos of the product means everything, you
Yeah.
know, just from touch to smell. And smell is something I didn't expect. And
It is.
literally, that was one of the first comments I got when we put our first volume
What page
out.
are you on, Alan?
People are like,
69.
they're like, dude, this thing smells incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. I
And
mean,
I was like, it didn't really,
No.
you know. But the reason it smells so good is we still use sheet-fed, you know, print. We don't do traditional. Everything now, for the most part, is digitally printed. And
So you said sheet-fed print.
yeah.
What
so
is
still inks and plates?
rolls?
Yeah.
wow.
So that's
What's the price difference there? If you're digitally
huge.
printing
we
something,
we could save a ton of money if we cheapened our product, but you know, that's product's a reflection of everything that we do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's you know, you win some, lose some, but yeah, I think when it's all said and done, they're close to $9 to produce one copy.
oh wow,
You know,
it feels that way. Well, and just the same. So he mentioned he bought backstock.
yeah.
I don't know how I did that because I feel like
Well, we had backstock.
That
We
must
took
have
out
been-
any of the meta backstock offline recently.
this was probably honestly 3 years ago that I had done this.
Yeah. So we had, I think there's only like 2 or 3 volumes that were completely sold out, but we always kept back stock, and I still do have some. Took it offline because we went through a brand change, and
Right.
it's time to kind of move on from that whole deal. But you know,
And
we
how
have
many volumes are you in this right now?
I think see 4, 8,
Okay.
or 8's being worked on right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
8 will come out in December.
What is it when, just from my perspective again, as far as periodicals and some such that goes out, when do you turn into the Reader's Digest, the National Geographic, the whatever that comes in the box set that you can order it? You know, 1-800, come on, call now. It's just 11 p.m. Everybody's asleep. You can order the
Shopping
Vahna
network.
Magazine.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a really great question. That's when you're asking if we become a book. I would like to see us, even as soon as next year, to do 2 volumes, something in the spring and something in the fall. That grows.
I'm more of an autumn.
Yeah, I can tell. It's obvious.
Clearly.
But that is that. Like, you get maybe it's more of a book,
Yeah.
right? And maybe you get some nice, beautiful books, some items from our partners, maybe. What I love to do is like and I'd like to do 2 drops instead of a magazine subscription. And those drops, then at least we could have, you know, shirt size, glove size, simple stuff, and then work to where, you know, it's kind of like a bark box you get twice a year.
Yeah.
Bark boxes work. I've got puppies, they love them. But, you know, just get something, and, you know, I always thought it'd be cool to, the readers, we make apparel only for readers.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's just kind of like being in the family or the club or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
That's cool.
So those are the ideas I'm kicking around in my head. Even a year-end book would be great, but I kind of feel like waiting a whole year for the publishing piece might be too long. So yeah, in the future, I'd love to morph the magazine, a quarterly magazine, into 2 book drops a year, and that's what we're working on right now. But it could happen next year. If not, it's going to happen the year after in 25.
Do you have any back stock of these?
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Yeah, I've
I'll
got
be
some in
making a
my
phone
truck,
call.
actually.
Perfect.
Yeah,
It'd be cool to have that series.
yeah. We've tried to, or not tried to. I've anything that we've ever produced, from, you know, a sticker sheet to a cap to a magazine. I take it and I've put things aside so that down the road.
Nice.
So we have 10 years.
Posterity.
Yeah, it's there.
It's
on
important.
the secret spot.
Nice.
That's why when we had you guys come in today, and we did the swab, that's just for down the road that we can have you back on the couch. But that, you know.
I appreciate the complimentary vaccine as well. That was really nice.
Well, it's 2023, and I'm just, you know, looking ahead.
Shit.
I'm going to get canceled before you even start.
I almost missed you. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's nothing.
All right, well, to back out everything that we've talked about, you're our first guest.
My last podcast, huh?
And we have it right here. We have it right here. Last one.
Speaking specifically to the podcast, this is our first in the basement with our first guest. You saw it live, mobile at Barber. Mm-hmm. We've been pontificating and kind of ideating about where it will go next, mobily. I'm curious from your vantage point. So we're able to talk about your film festival. We're able to talk about your print magazine. We're able to talk about you and your gooey insides. Where do you think we can take this from what you've seen? Where do you think it could live? What exactly are we doing here?
I don't know. We're working on our own podcast, so you inviting me in here is great. I'm just taking mental notes right now. And, no, I'm just kidding.
As long as you have me on yours, that's good.
Yeah.
No, I love podcasts. I don't listen to them as much as I want to, but I think Danger Dan's was one of the first ones I did, and like, just a good time, just like I'm having
Just
right
chill,
now,
yeah.
hanging with the buddies. And
Well, that was definitely the idea, just being like,
Yeah.
the couch setting. And
Absolutely, and we acknowledge that we are actually on camera right now. Because the background that we come from being a very visual medium, this is just only an extension of that. And so I hope to leverage it, obviously, with what I'm doing. But ultimately, it's the relationship and the conversation that carries it.
I think this is great, man. I think the more people that you can get onto these shows and share stories, and I don't know, anytime you hear a story, you learn something, whether it's good or bad, you learn something from somebody's story. And, I think there's a lot of people that probably would, wish they could express themselves more often or to a bigger audience.
when I think you hear those stories that you wouldn't normally be telling, like that's the idea, is to dig in and as Sam says, get into the gooey insides, and like it's cool that was you. You wrote an article in high school.
I was in college. Yeah.
And that sparked,
Yeah, that definitely.
like you can go into the teacher that pushed you in that direction. You wouldn't, if that didn't happen, maybe, little moments like that.
I have
pretty cool.
more to that story. I think prior to that, I was like back up maybe like 5 years. I was like 19 or something. I was working on a job in the down in St. Thomas and Virgin Islands. My brother and I were working for my dad down there. And one night we went down, and my brother and I, we sat at this little dock at Whole Bay, and he's 10 years older than I am, and he's like, one job, like a serious job, what would it be? What would you want to do with yourself? And at that time I had never surfed, but I'd collecting surfing magazines, and I was really into skating as a kid, and surfing was something I was destined to do. I told him, I was like, man, I want to work. I think it'd be working for Surfer Magazine. And I remember him going, have you ever surfed? I was like, not yet, but I'm going to. And for some reason, without
That's cool.
trying to go to work at Surfer, that's where I ended up, like,
That's cool.
7 years later.
Yeah.
I think words are so powerful.
Yeah, me too, man.
Everything you speak, and that's why I even talked to Meg, how powerful our words are. Be careful what you say, because we will achieve.
Or say it if you want it,
Say it if you want it, but even say it out of jest. Look the fuck out, because it'll happen.
Yeah.
Because our intention, our human nature, we are so powerful as individuals that when we set our minds to something, even unintentionally, you will show the fuck up for
I
it.
believe that 100%.
Yeah, and so much so as you've ended up on the couch here in the basement. What just started in jest, in conversation, is now a functioning 3-cam operation run by Cody Shipman on the 1s, 2s, 3s. It's got 9 channels.
It's got 9 channels.
But that's just a reality that I live in, and that I agree too. When I encounter folks like you, yourself, equal to Alan and Megan, Cody, and all of our friends watching online, I just think it's so fun to meet artists. And that's how I look at each of us, as artists with different paintbrushes,
Yep.
And you operate in publication, and you've created something that is so beautiful and so intentional. You operate in film and stunts and action and drama, all these things, and the way you're able to craft it and curate it. Every single one of us has these talents, and it's just when you're able to like really harness it. But people don't realize that they're fucking painting shit all the time. And they don't even know what they're doing. It's only until you're able to focus it that you can really show it off. But that doesn't stop you from creating along the way. And so everybody's doing something. And so I'm excited for what we're able to do here and talk to folks about it, because everybody's got a goddamn paintbrush, and I want to.
I think you should take this thing on the road if you can. You know, if you could take it to other cities and travel.
Yeah.
You know.
When we Derek made mention of Eva,
Rupert.
that is at the Overland Expo experience, and then
Yeah.
she's actually out on Rubel's
Yeah.
Ride.
Yeah. I forget the details of the ride, but it's
It's an
pretty gnarly.
8-day
Yeah.
Overland experience. As a fully female, whatever, but like specifically the Overland Expo, that's I believe that's like a southeast northwest kind of scenario.
It'd be a good home for you if you ask me.
Yeah, it's new to me, and so I'm still learning. But all things considered, I'm excited to take this and have these conversations. We'll bring the basement to you.
Well, anytime you guys want, I mean, this is honest talk. Anytime you want to come to Denver, we've got a great little workspace that
Cool.
would be a nice home for
Where
you
you guys will be doing your podcast.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we're doing a podcast with a Z. Podcast. It's even
Good.
better.
These cats in and out. We'll see you on Golden River, man. I'll be the one on the torn up tube. That'll be me. Have you done Golden River yet? You done this?
Where ours is called Danger Beard.
Moto Chot Talk. Danger Beard.
It's mangy.
Is that
Mangy
a
beard.
wrap? What time is that? Make sure.
You gotta go get your friend.
Oh, it's 3:28.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I gotta
Well, on that
be there
note,
at
we are
4.
super happy to have had you here, our first guest.
Stoked.
Yeah,
Like I
thank
said,
you for attending.
Need a signature wall down.
Now
here.
you just signed me,
Yeah.
and then we never wash.
Tattoo gun.
Oh, there you go. Jesus, not gonna do that. Ooh. But I look forward to where we encounter each other next, and then obviously we'll see you at. We're gonna actually show up, and we're gonna shoot at the venue
Thank you.
for your film festival.
That'd be amazing because I need to capture, you know.
Some of that stuff.
It will be
Yeah,
captured.
and I know I'll be like talking to everyone.
We only shoot in 720 though, so it's kind of a different experience.
Yeah, no 480. And we're
No,
all right,
480p
man.
though. It's not I.
Yeah. Well, right on. Until next time, sir.
Thank you guys. Man.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Thank you.
everything.
Yeah, brother. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I feel like I'm part of the family down here now. so-
Absolutely.
No,
Thanks,
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Thanks. Appreciate it.
That was.